Rugby's greatest tournament is almost among us, and woo boy, this one is hard to call. I genuinely believe there's maybe 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 possible winners this year, which is crazy, with World Rugby completely buggering the drawing process, which means one of Ireland, France, New Zealand, South Africa will be knocked out before the semi-finals. It really does knock this tournament wide open. So we're going to dive into the world of predictions for the upcoming 2023 Rugby World Cup. I'm going to do it pool by pool, game by game, and without further ado, let's jump into it. In Pool A, we have some heavyweight contenders. The mighty France and New Zealand are expected to head their way, and this really is just a draw to get out the way of who the favourites to take the trophy are, because genuinely, the World Cup could be decided by the very first match. Momentum is everything in rugby, and if the All Blacks beat the French on opening day, it could really change the landscape of this tournament. It would have enormous ramifications for the knockout stages and who reaches the final. But with that being said, I'm gotta go with France. Even if this was on neutral soil, the French just seem like an absolute complete team, and honestly, if Romain Ntamack was fit, this side might be unbeatable. This is maybe the greatest French side that there's ever been, despite the current injury crisis, and France are absolutely thriving right now. And with the French fans behind them, I really don't see them losing on opening day. Although saying that it would be the most French thing in the world for them to get hammered, but I think France will win by 8 points. Italy versus Namibia. This really isn't a hard game to call. Namibia are very exciting to watch, and while it's nice to see Namibia here, Italy will tear them apart. I'm predicting that Italy will win by 40 points. France versus Uruguay will be really fun. Uruguay, of course, having that famous win over Fiji in the last World Cup. These two sides have actually never played each other, but Uruguay have been in decent form recently, defeating Romania, Chile, Namibia and Argentina A in the past year. But they also got hammered by Tonga, so an upset isn't really on the cards here. They will put up a fight, but France will win comfortably by 28 points. New Zealand will face Namibia, and yeah, this will be a great showcase for the All Blacks, just like it was in 2019. They'll win by 45 points at least. Italy versus Uruguay is a very fun looking game on paper, and will make the game. It'll be the game Uruguay are eyeing up for an upset. Will it happen? Probably not. Italy have improved leaps and bounds in the last few years and will probably win this around 21 points. France versus Namibia, and again, I'm sorry, Namibia, there isn't much to say. France will win by 50 points. But Uruguay versus Namibia should be a tasty encounter. That was the cringiest thing I've ever said. They've played each other 4 times since 2017, and each of those games were insanely close. And I think Uruguay will win by 10 points ultimately. New Zealand versus Italy, and I really feel for Italy here. If they were drafted into Pool C or Pool D, they could have reached the knockouts in this tournament, maybe further. It's such a shame that they're in this pool, because I think they'll have a competitive half in this game, but the All Blacks will probably have the game won either by the 25-minute mark, or after half time they'll just pull away. New Zealand win by 35 points. The All Blacks will then face Uruguay, and it will be a similar story. They'll win by over 45 points. It will be nice to see Uruguay face the All Blacks, but they will be hammered. Sorry. The final game in this pool will, I think, be pretty incredible. France versus Italy. It doesn't seem like the most even contest on paper, but I really think the Italians will push France right to the limit. But I don't think an upset is possible, and I do think the French will slowly start eating away at the game and probably win by 16 or so points. So that's my Pool A predictions. While Italy, Uruguay and Namibia will each bring their own unique qualities, none of them will pose a threat to the top 2 really. Again, it really sucks that Italy have been chucked into a pool where they haven't got a chance. Like, if we swapped Italy's place in Pool A with Fiji's place in Pool C, they could really go far in this tournament, but it's not going to happen, unfortunately, for Italy this year. That's how broken this format is, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So Pool A, France will top, followed by New Zealand, Italy, Uruguay and Namibia. Group B is tough. We have defending champion South Africa, who will face stiff competition from Ireland and Scotland. This really is the ultimate pool of death, and here's where my predictions get a little bit spicy. Let's start from the beginning. Ireland will hammer Romania in the boring ass hell game and will win by 40 points. It will probably be the most boring game of the whole competition. Sorry. But then we have Scotland versus South Africa, and here's my hot take. Scotland win by 1 point, and I can't even justify it. I really can't. The Springboks are maybe the most difficult team to beat in all the world, and I really think there's only 3 teams who can beat them right now. Ireland, the All Blacks, and Scotland. And I don't know why. but I just can't help but feel that South Africa will be punching down on the Scottish for the entire game, but they'll keep getting opened up by some Finn Russell bullshit, Bath Rugby's new god and saviour who punishes misbehaviour, and they won't be able to keep them down until suddenly Scotland pull ahead. This is just a gut feeling, I really don't have much more to say, but Scotland are really in a dark horse position in this tournament, and if it wasn't for this stupid format, if they were in Pool C or Pool D, I think they could have a chance of maybe winning it, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Ireland will breeze past the looks good on paper but not in practice Tonga team by 26 points. Next, the second most game of the World Cup will occur when South Africa angrily demolish Romania by 50 plus points, and then we have Ireland versus South Africa. Now, Ireland are probably a better side than South Africa, but as Squidge Rugby so excellently details in this video on Ireland, Ireland are fundamentally not a team that prioritised the World Cup over and over the years, and South Africa are the exact opposite. Nothing in the past 4 years matters really if South Africa play well in the World Cup. And honestly, originally I thought this was going to be a repeat of 2019 where Ireland prepped for the game for a week but South Africa have things to draw. But when I first wrote my predictions, I thought the Springboks would have this in the bag, but Ireland are just so complete as a unit, I really think they're actually going to do it. I know it's bonkers to suggest the Springboks could get knocked out in the pool stages when they're such a complete side, but I just can't shake the feeling that they're drawn in with the two teams that are just maybe better than them. Even in 2019 when they won the World Cup, everyone forgets that they were comfortably outclassed by the All Blacks in the group stages. The Springboks are not the best team in the world and probably never have been, but they're a team that everyone hates playing because even though there's certain teams that may have their number, the rest of them don't stand a chance. If the Springboks were in Pool A rather than say New Zealand, I predict they beat France pretty comfortably. If they were in Pool C or D, I think they'd be firm favourites to win the whole thing, but I just can't shake the feeling that they're going to be upset by Ireland and Scotland. I really can't help but think that, and oh god, I feel sick even saying this, but Ireland win by 9. Anyways, Scotland versus Tonga. This match will be quite fun, but Scotland will likely win by 27 points. I also think this will be a fun match for both teams to showcase their hottest stars, and it'll be a very high scoring affair, I imagine, and I hope my boy Cameron Redpath gets some time to shine. You know, once a Bath fan, always a Bath fan. But Scotland will pull away towards the end and win by 38 points. It'll be a very similar story when South Africa play Tonga, the Springboks will win by 35. Ireland versus Scotland, and I won't waste your time, but Ireland will win by 18. Ireland absolutely have Scotland's number, they are a significantly stronger side than the Scots in every regard, and I just don't see Scotland suddenly being able to come close to Ireland. Ireland have just crapped Scotland in every way, and I don't think Gregor Townsend really has an answer to it. The last game in the pool is Tonga versus Romania. This will be stupidly fun and close, and I think Tonga will win by 11 points in one of the games of the tournament. So Pool B, my bonkers predictions here. Ireland come up on top, Scotland second, South Africa third, Tonga fourth, and Romania finish bottom. Pool C represents an interesting mix of talent, and genuinely every team in this pool have a chance of beating one another. Australia can beat Wales but lose to Fiji, Fiji can beat Wales but lose to Georgia, Georgia can beat Wales but lose to Portugal, and Portugal can beat Wales but lose to Australia. And Wales are also there. Okay, that was a joke. I don't think Portugal could actually beat Wales, but regardless, this group is tight. Australia, Fiji, and Wales are technically the favourites to progress, but really Australia are a shoo-in to win. I'll go in more detail about this later, but Australia are really the dark horse to win the entire thing, and I think they'll dominate the group with relative ease. I really like Eddie Jones' idea of positionless rugby, and I think it's going to genuinely be the new standard in a few years. But this Australia squad is in its infancy. Literally, it's by far the youngest squad in the World Cup. But they'll need to start to adapt to this structure and whatever mad shit Eddie Jones tries to pull quite quickly. But all I'll say is, even if Australia don't perform great in this World Cup, they're going to win the next one, I'm convinced. I have so much faith in Eddie as a coach, and again, I think it'll be, I'll talk about him later, but he's going to revolutionise Australian rugby. It's quite exciting, actually. His tournament will start with a game against the Georgians, everyone's favourite Tier 2 nation. I bloody love Georgia, and I hope they're given more of a chance in the future, but because they're so good, guys. Australia will win this probably quite comfortably by 22 or so points, but I think it'll be closer than people might expect. Next, Fiji and Wales. a game where most people are circling for a chance of an upset, and I don't blame them. Fiji are stacked, and even though at the time of writing this, their fly half is currently out, which is just a huge blow to them. They're in incredible form, and Wales are really awful right now. But my head is telling me that Wales would probably beat Fiji comfortably, something like 37-21, but my heart is telling me that it's going to be more like 24-20 to Fiji. I don't know, it'll either be hugely close or a massive letdown, but honestly, I'm going with Fiji. Them blasting England just solidified that to me. This is such a pool of death. Wales will rectify this probably by defeating Portugal, probably around 28 points. Sorry, Portugal, but then Australia will face off against Fiji in another game people think can be an upset. I'm not one of them. Australia will win by 20 points, but it'll be a very competitive game. Georgia will win against Portugal in the ultimate you versus the guy she tells you not to worry about showdown of Tier 2 European rugby. It'll be close for the first hour, but Georgia will probably be in control and pull away late on and win by 28 points. Australia versus Wales, this isn't hard for me. Warren Gatland's going to neutralise this Australian side for so much of this game, but it won't be enough. Australia win by 8 points. Wales are out of the World Cup. Yeah, sorry, I really don't see them having any hope in this competition whatsoever. Fiji will face Georgia in another match that will be contender for match of the competition. Fiji will win, again, probably by 8, but this has to be one of the most highly anticipated matches of the year. Australia versus Portugal is next. Won't waste your time, Australia win by 38. Next, Wales versus Georgia. Sweet Georgia. Can Georgia pull off an upset here? Yes, absolutely, definitely. Will they? Probably not, but I really think they'll stand quite fairly against the Welsh, but they probably won't be able to pull off an upset. It'll probably be close throughout, but they'll never really be in any danger of upsetting Wales. And Wales will probably win by 17 points. It won't be a repeat to the last time they played each other. Finally, Fiji versus Portugal. This should be stupid fun, but Fiji will pretty comfortably win by 24 points when all is said and done. Like I said, Georgia and Portugal do have the potential to create upsets, but I think Georgia's big Rugby World Cup moment is still 4 years away, and while I'll push some teams, they won't get any major victories. And I think Portugal will have a good showing and be fighting hard, but they'll probably finish quite comfortably at the bottom. So, Pool C, we have Australia on top, followed by Fiji, Wales, Georgia, and then Portugal at the bottom. Lastly, Pool D, it brings together an interesting mix of traditional powerhouses and emerging nations. We've got Japan, Argentina, England, and are engaged in a fierce battle to secure their spot in the quarterfinals. And before I continue, allow me to get into why England firing Eddie Jones was an absolutely stupid, ridiculous, and boneheaded decision rant. Firing Eddie Jones, a year out from the World Cup, is one of the stupidest decisions the RFU have made in the 21st century. The great irony of this whole Eddie Jones saga is that everybody forgets that England was significantly worse in 2018 than they were before they fired Eddie because they did well in the World Cup. It's almost like there's a pattern here, because the simple fact of the matter is that Eddie Jones does not give two shits about anything apart from winning the World Cup. Nothing else matters to this man, and I do 100% understand why people absolutely hate this approach, but it's how Jones works, and I do think it's mad to sack him right before the thing he's working towards. If you're gonna fire him, why do it right before a World Cup, so his replacement doesn't have any time to change anything? Steve Borthwick is an excellent coach, no doubt, but for one, I don't think he's ready to coach a Tier 1 nation as a head coach. But that very same Steve Borthwick is Eddie's protege from Eddie's time in England. So what England have done is pay a huge amount of money to remove the experience and continuity of the Rugby World Cup's most proven coach, but otherwise desperately trying to stay the exact same, somehow expect to be good again. It's the most conservative yet needlessly risky and ill-thought-out move I've seen since Brexit. If they were going to fire him, they should have done it 18 months ago before, so England have a chance to rebuild and have a distinct ideology. You have to have known that England were going to do this. You have to know that Eddie was going to do this. You have to know that there was going to be a dip in form before the World Cup. I sure as hell did, and how did I know? Because the same fucking thing happened the last World Cup cycle, and I pay attention to what happens on the pitch. The simple fact of the matter is, if you want a coach that will ensure you succeed at the World Cup, Eddie Jones is your man. He has made 3 finals, won 1 of them, and created the biggest upset the competition has ever seen. It's the best record of any rugby coach ever. He has the highest win percentage, the most Six Nations, most Grand Slams, and was 1 game away from winning the World Cup 3 years ago, but England fired him because Clive Woodward kept moaning about him on ITV. Ugh. Look, I get that people don't like Eddie, or, all the batshit cuckoo things he does, and I get that, I truly do. But this wasn't the way to go about this, because England are worse than they've ever been in my lifetime right now. And do you really think England, under Eddie Jones, would have lost at home to fucking Fiji? Anyways, England will underperform, and while Japan and Argentina will not have it easy against them, I can really see England getting knocked out in embarrassing fashion. I can see Borthwick's England getting sucked into playing Japan's style of rugby, and there's every chance it would backfire. As for Argentina, they beat England under Eddie Jones, they'll beat them again. With all that being said, until recently, I thought England would still sneak through, just because I think they're fundamentally stronger than Japan. Japan are so frustrating to watch since the last World Cup. They've seemingly regressed so much in 4 years, and it's just so disappointing. England should, on paper, have it easy against Japan, but at the same time, England might actually be worse. England will start their campaign off against Argentina, and yeah, they're going to lose, mate. Argentina have improved so much since the last World Cup. I'm really excited for them, and while England do have the star power to make it close, I think Los Pumas will win by around 7 points. Japan versus Chile should be an absolutely banging match, and I think an upset is possible with how exciting and competitive Chile are and how poorly Japan are playing. I don't think it will happen, but it will be actually really close. I think Japan will win by 8. It'll be a similar story next time out when Chile face Samoa. It'll be close, brutal and exciting, but Samoa will probably win. Probably even more comfortably than Japan beat them. They'll win by 11, I think. Chile are going to play really good rugby in this World Cup, and they're going to push teams to the limit, I guarantee you that. England versus Japan next, and yeah, as mentioned, this is hard to call. Japan's kicking game is abysmal and they're so frustrating to watch, but in all their games there's glimmers of hope, and it feels like they're holding back something. Japan would have been preparing for this game since the draw, and England would have had to compete a complete coaching revamp in the last year, and yeah, I think this game should be close, but I think Japan will win by 4. The next game should be fun, with Argentina facing Samoa. Similar vibes to me to that Fiji versus Australia game 4 years ago. Samoa will provide a scare for an hour or so, but will be punched back down by the Argentinians. Argentina will win by 14. England versus Chile. Despite how poor England are, this won't be an upset. Chile will put up a fight, but will lose by 30 points. Japan versus Samoa in what I think could be the game of the group. Samoa are playing rather quite well right now. Japan aren't, but Japan might just probably be better on paper than the Samoans. I think Japan will win by 6, but I think I could be wrong. Again, I think Japan could either, get to the quarterfinals here or have a complete disaster in this World Cup. I don't think there's any in between. And either this or Argentina versus Chile will likely be a copy-paste of... Argentina versus Chile would likely be a copy-paste of England versus Chile. I think they'll be the exact same story, with Argentina winning by at least 30 points. England versus Samoa. This is actually quite hard for me to think about. I can really see England struggling against Samoa for a lot of this game, but I think this late into the pool stages, England's depth on the bench will win out, and they'll pull away later on. England win by 24. And finally, the last match of the pool, Japan versus Argentina. This isn't too hard. Argentina by 20 is my prediction. Japan are no pushovers, but Argentina are just clearly a class or 2 above. It won't be that close. Basically a repeat of Japan's performance against the Springboks in 2019, so yeah. More Samoa and Chile will look to have their presence felt, and this will be a very fun pool to watch. They will finish bottom, and in this competitive pool, I think Argentina and Japan will claim the top 2 positions. So to summarise, my pool predictions look like this. Pool A will have France, New Zealand, Italy in the top 3, followed by Uruguay and Namibia. Ireland and Scotland will be the teams that qualify from Pool B. South Africa will finish disappointingly in 3rd, followed by Tonga and Romania. Pool C will see Australia triumphantly win, Fiji causing an upset, Wales will be disappointing in 3rd, followed by Georgia and Portugal. And in Pool D, Argentina will top, followed by Japan, England, Samoa and Chile. Yeah, 4 Tier 1 nations out in the groups, including the reigning world champions. I told you these were bold. With the group predictions out of the way, let's shift our focus to the knockout stages. Australia will lock horns with Japan, Ireland will go head to head with New Zealand, 2 rugby giants battling it out, Argentina and Fiji will go head to head in the most chaotic and spirited match of the tournament, while France and Scotland will provide a try-filled masterpiece. And I'm not going to give my predictions on the points differences here, because frankly it was a bit stupid during the pool stages, and definitely will age poorly, but it will probably be even more stupid and poorly aged here, so not even going to bother. But I think knockout rugby is just a completely different beast, and it's way harder to predict, so these are going to be, nothing in this video is going to age well anyway, so who cares. First, I think Australia defeating Japan is a given, and Eddie Jones' Rugby World Cup side, with players as good as Australia's, is not losing to this Japan team. But to be honest, I'm glad it's not England in this position, because it would be so incredibly frustrating to see Australia hammer us. Next up, Ireland will narrowly overcome New Zealand. I don't know, man, this might just be the hardest cool match so far, and even saying it I feel regretful, but I can't help but think that Ireland may be unbeatable. While it's funny to predict that Ireland will continue their hilarious record of building up for years before a World Cup, just to tremble and fall over at the goal line, vomit and die at the quarterfinals, especially I just think at their core, Ireland are just not geared towards success at the World Cup as a team, as an ideology, as like a philosophy of that side. It's just not how they work. But I really think New Zealand will struggle to get out the gates against Ireland, and the Irish will secure what some will say is a surprising victory. They're really good, guys. Next up, Argentina versus Fiji. Yeah, it's weird to predict this as a quarterfinal, but hey, the heart wants what the heart wants. This will likely be closer than some may think, and there'll be flashes of Fijian brilliance as they storm towards a possible upset, but Argentina will win. They'll pull away, and they'll probably win quite comfortably in the end. And finally, France prevailing against Scotland. I think Scotland are one of the few teams that can really push France. They're one of the 4 teams in the planet I think could actually beat them in this tournament, but I think France will sneak past it. But that's not a confident prediction at all. I really do think Scotland are going to turn heads this year, and I think people are really underestimating the ability of this Scotland side. The semi-finals are where things really heat up. Australia and Ireland will face off in an epic encounter, with both teams possessing incredible talent and a burning desire to win and defy their stereotypes of relative underperformance. On the other side of the bracket, Argentina and France. I'm just going to get this out of the way. France will win. Both teams will score some lovely tries, but France will absolutely outclass Argentina. Argentina and France are undoubtedly the most improved team since the last World Cup, and while Argentina are definitely an incredible side, France are world beaters, and I can see France winning something like 31-14. I don't think it'll be that close. Next, Australia versus Ireland, and this one really is just vibes. What England were building towards, Australia will inherit. It's of course not a one-to-one comparison. They're vastly different teams with vastly different players and vastly different circumstances, but Australia is genuinely the best possible team Eddie could have gone to. Australia, even without Jones, could have sleepwalked to this quarterfinal. They're a team that is easily and comfortably better than everyone else in Pool C and D. With Eddie, they just have the potential to go all the way. So with that being said, I still think Australia are gonna lose to Ireland. If Eddie had more time with this Australian team, then maybe, but against Ireland, I really don't think they stand much of a chance. Not this year anyway. Eddie Jones knows his Australia side will sleepwalk to the semi-finals, so his sole focus, much like in 2019, is planning for that game. He'll need a game plan because he knows what awaits him is either Ireland, Scotland, South Africa, France, or New Zealand. And honestly, the only 2 of those 5 nations I can see an Eddie Jones Australia team actually beating right now is Scotland or maybe New Zealand, because Eddie seems to have New Zealand's number no matter what. But I don't think Eddie's cracked South Africa, and I think Ireland and France are just streets ahead of the Australian players, and I think have had years to prepare and build together, and I really think Australia will have New Zealand's number when the World Cup comes around. The same for Scotland probably, but that's a given anyway. But I think Ireland is a team that Eddie just won't be able to beat. Now, what we have all been waiting for, the bronze finals, often a bittersweet affair that I don't think anyone really looks forward to. We'll witness a battle between Australia and Argentina, and I think Argentina will win. I hate the cliche of saying they'll want it more, but I think these sides are so even on paper, and Argentina will be way more up for getting a bronze medal than the young Wallaby side that probably just got beaten to a pulp by the Irish. I think player psychology is a huge thing, and while this young team will build confidence and optimism through the tournament, I think after a loss probably so heavy to Ireland, that'll take some time to rebuild. And if Argentina pull ahead, I don't think Australia will catch them. It's not just that, but all the thought about it I can muster comes back to the fact that Argentina will just honestly want it more, as cliche as it sounds. At one point in the tournament, Australia would be my picks over Argentina, but on this day, I think Argentina are just going to get the win. And now, we've all been waiting for, again, the finals. It'll be an intense showdown, and I foresee Ireland and France battling out for rugby's ultimate glory. These two nations boast of rich history and heritage, battling out for the richest prize in our sport. For the first time since 2003, a European nation will win the World Cup. The first time ever it's an all-European final and an all-Northern Hemisphere final between two teams who have never won it, and one team that's never even come close. And my predicted winner is France. I know it's the obvious answer for this bold predictions video, but it's really not in any doubt in my mind. France have this tournament on a silver platter, and as good as Ireland are, I think France are just a bit better. I don't think that there's any team that will be able to do what France can do on their home soil, that will be able to beat France on their home soil in a World Cup final. I think this would be a bit of a step too far for the Irish. France are going to win the World Cup, and honestly that makes me happy because they deserve it. They've come close before, they've come bafflingly close before, but for the first time I can remember, France are actually scarily good. And I guess apart from England and maybe Australia, because I'll feel vindicated if they win, they're the team I want to win the most. So those are my Rugby World Cup predictions. I look forward to you telling me how wrong I am in the comments. I'm sure if you're from South Africa or New Zealand, you'll just love this video. Please like, share and subscribe, and share with anyone who likes them some rugby. This has been Rugby Recitation, and I'll see you next time.